Hello once again, everybody, from Cooperstown, New York, site of the National Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum, and also site for another edition of Virtual Voices of the Game. We thank you for joining us today on a semi-sunny day here in Cooperstown. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Bruce Marcuson. I work in the Education Department here at the Baseball Hall of Fame, and we're very glad to have with us someone who does maybe something that we don't always think about. We kind of take it for granted. We overlook it. We're going to talk to the field and ground maintenance manager for the Los Angeles Angels. His name is Barney Lopas. Now, I use that official title. I guess we more commonly think of that title as Head Groundskeeper. It's a lot easier for me to remember, for one thing. Barney, welcome to the program. Thanks for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Bruce.
Let's talk about how this all started for you. This was back in 1996 when you joined the Angels franchise. But prior to that, you had been a minor league groundskeeper. And I guess your influences, well, two of the most prominent, your late brother and a Hall of Fame groundskeeper named George Toma. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I grew up, I'm actually up north right now, about 150 miles north of Appleton, Wisconsin, where I grew up. I'm on vacation and headed back to Anaheim in a couple of days. But I grew up around a minor league ballpark my whole life. So my brother was 6 years older than me. He was the groundskeeper and always hung out there. Always was a guy pick up trash or whatever, clean the stands and do this and that. My brother would throw me batting practice in the cages and all that kind of stuff. But I kind of went under his wing when I was graduating in '85. He was going to Florida to work, and I kind of worked on the fields when I was in high school because I played on that field. And it was actually at that time it was a single A. It was in Midwest League. It's a single A team for the Chicago White Sox, and so I kind of took it over his footsteps, and then I did that for a couple of years, and then. And 87, 85, 86, and then 87, I actually, in the wintertime, I went down and worked for, I got a job with George Toma, who takes care of the Kansas City Royals groundskeeper, and at Boardwalk Baseball, and Baseball City, Florida, it was called, and by Haines City. And I did that, and then I'd do that, I'd work there, and I'd go down there in November, and I'd come back in April after spring training, and then work on that minor league field. I did that back and forth for a couple of years, and then I actually got a job, applied for a job in Richmond, Virginia as a AAA team for the Braves at the time, and that was in '89. And I went there, and that got me till like '93. And '93, I actually applied for the Florida Marlins, becoming an expansion team, and got the job building and working for a field in Melbourne, Florida, and Vieira, and Space Coast Stadium. But anyhow, we had their minor league, all their spring training for the Florida Marlins. So did that for all the way up until '96, and landed the job in Anaheim. So, but yeah, it's been a great run. It's been a great time, and minor leagues were great. Very fortunate. The reason how I got to Los Angeles is because. To Anaheim is because our manager was Rene Latchman for the Marlins. His brother was our pitching coach, Rene Latchman, and I was there for like 3 years with them and got to know him really well. And then Marcel came over to Anaheim, and like a year after he was here, then Disney was getting ready to buy the team, and they were looking for a groundskeeper, and I was fortunate enough to be the one. So. It's been a great 24 years there, and it's been a great ride since '85, or before that, even just being around the ballpark. And just one of those guys that loves the game and loves being around it. And yeah, just thrilled every day to go to Big League Stadium and be around baseball and watch baseball.
You had interviewed for some other major league not managerial positions, but groundskeeping positions. You had come very close. You were on a list of like the top 2 or 3 finalists. So by the time you come around to the Angels job, were you thinking, well, maybe I'll fall short again? And on top of that, once you did hear that you got the job, what was your initial reaction?
Well, this is a great story. So, actually, yeah, I applied for some jobs, and the Cleveland job, I believe, was first Jacobs Field, and I remember it was Brandon Kinkins, the one who's there now, who also grew up right by me as a child, and his dad was the one that got us all in the groundskeeping bud, and so that was really kind of a neat thing. But he ended up getting the job, but um, so that happened, and then the next one was the St. Louis Cardinals, and that's when went from turf to to grass, and that didn't work out. So actually, when I was getting ready to actually interview for the Los Angeles Dodgers job interview too, because they were interviewing right behind me, but I had this interview, and I went down there, and as Kevin Ulick at the time was our director of city operations, and Bill Babasi was our general manager. And they basically said, we already did everything. We're not interviewing anybody. We just want you here to see this is where you like to have your home. And because you come from Wisconsin to the East Coast, and you've never been to the West Coast, we just don't want to hire you. We want to make you feel comfortable. And I'm like, because I wasn't very good at the last two, and prior to the Marlins too, I also interviewed for some spring training complexes, and I fell short of those. So, but so that was kind of a neat thing that kind of took the heat off, but it was really neat because Kevin and Bill they're showing me around the city, and they're telling me how things are, and so it was a neat thing. And then it was just a matter of my wife was pregnant with our first child, my son, and I go back, and I'm like, she wasn't real fired up about going to California, and so they wanted me to sit on it for a while and think about it, and finally I'm like, I called some other general managers that I know in the game. One of them was Billy Smith, that was with the Twins, and he said, I'm going to tell you something. If you're not going to look back. If you're not going to look back and you're going to just keep moving forward and you're not going to think about not taking that job, then do whatever you want to do. But, they don't come around very often. And he was right. And the next day I called and I got a hold of the Angels and Kevin Ulick, and I said, I'd be honored to come out there. And then I waited for my son to get born, and went out 8 days later. And I said, it's been a dream, and very fortunate. So pretty cool.
So you were probably nerve-wracked for this interview, and you get there, and they say, we've already made up our mind.
Yeah, they said, we already did your research, and not only that, Marcel was there, he's our manager, and they said they have scouts down there who already looked at your fields, and they said they called all the people, David Nabrowski was our general manager at that time with the Marlins, and they knew him, so they said they dotted all their dots or whatever, and so it took a lot of heat off here. I thought I was going in for hopefully it wasn't going over 3. So,
yeah,
but it worked out.
It certainly worked out.
Yeah.
Barney, one of the things we do here at the Hall of Fame, we have a number of educational programs that we offer through virtual field trips in this kind of a format with Field Trip Zoom. We do a geometry program, and at the beginning of that program, we talk about the geometry that's involved in laying out a baseball field and doing it properly, and how this is done very scientifically, and there's very specific training. And we may have some younger viewers today, or they may watch it on the replay. So for the younger viewers out there that maybe are thinking down the road of a possible job in baseball, what kind of path would someone need to take to become a groundskeeper today? What kind of education, what kind of courses? Lay out that mission, if you would.
Yeah, so the big thing is, anybody that wants to get into this field, it's kind of like a golf course superintendent also, but there's actually a sports turf management courses, and a lot of universities carry them, and there's some that are really good. I know like Penn State has a really good one. I think Tennessee's really big into their horticulture, their turf grass management. There's a lot of schools. There's even a lot of smaller schools that have it and carry it. And to get a degree is obviously I just started out of high school, went the my route, but everybody has a different route they take. But in today's world, that was back in '85. It's not the same it was in '85 as it is today. But with that all said, I tell people you have to, I mean, even if you go to a spring training complex like I did, I mean, and you're one of 25 guys there. Like at Boardwalk in baseball, I think we had 25 groundskeepers there. We had a lot of fields, and you're one of 25, and you think, oh man, how am I really going to be the one of this or one of that? But it's you just got to get experience and then work harder than everybody else, and get good grades. Go to get your school, get your degree, and then go out and make your path into something you're going to do. Whether you want to, you want to take it into football, you want to take it into soccer, you want to, but the whole key is to not get intimidated by when you're like, oh my gosh, this is one team, and I'm trying to get to be, I want to be that guy, or I want to be. It's all perfect perseverance and sticking to it, and don't ever worry about money, because if you're worrying about money in sports, and especially when you're at those levels, it's not going to happen. So you have to be a passion that you really want to follow, a dream that you really want to chase, and if you can do that, I mean, just working at, you can probably work for a city in your own, if you're a young kid or something. I mean, whatever you want to do. I mean, just to get some kind of training in it, and then just don't ever give up on it. Just like, even when you think, you failed. It's like, when's this thing ever going to happen? That's my best advice into that. But education, obviously, today, everybody's, that's great. And then figuring out that this is, you might get into something. You might work at, like I said, a soccer field or something like that, or you might get into this, and your heart's going to tell you, or your things are going to tell you where to go with it and everything else. And that's the biggest thing. And yeah, laying out like the geometry thing, like laying out fields and doing all that stuff. I mean, yeah, we got all these different grades, and you got all these different areas of slopes, and you got all these different how high, and how the ball is going to do this, and so there's a lot that before you lay sod down, putting that field in, there's a lot that goes into it. Back in the day, we just had to put flags, and they put these things in with these the marks, name to them, but yeah, the flags that come off the top, and you poke them all on the ground. And it's funny because nowadays, we have lasers that hook up behind tractors, and you set the lasers, and then you get your slopes, and you get all that stuff. But and the same with the infield dirt, but there's a lot of stuff that goes into that people don't realize, that how is it going to drain, and how's the ball, which way the ball's going, and that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
Yeah, it's how you want
the younger viewers out there, everything on a professional baseball field, well, I shouldn't say everything, but most things except for the outfield dimensions are standardized. You've got obviously the 4 bases, and they're each 90 feet apart.
Yeah.
They're set at 90-degree angles, so the infield actually forms a perfect square. You've got the pitching rubber is 60 feet 6 inches from home plate. You've got a batter's box. You've got a catcher's box. You've got coaches' boxes. And then in the outfield, that depends more on where the ballpark has been put, trying to fit it into a city grid. Some ballparks, larger dimensions, some have smaller dimensions, but many things are standardized. So this is a very scientific endeavor. Barney, you mentioned the sports turf management degree. Typically, how long does it take to acquire that?
That'd be a 4-year degree.
4-year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's a lengthy process.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, yeah, going back to that, I mean, yeah, you're talking about the younger kids and stuff, but yeah, I mean, the math all goes into it. I mean, yeah, you're laying out you're laying out a football field, or you're laying out, I mean, all sports fields are, you're adding stuff up. We do a lot of stuff with, you look at like things in the outfield, like Vladdy, we're painting stuff on the outfield. And we're putting, like, I put like USA on my outfield grass before, and we've done different like Garrett Anderson things, and you do it with rakes and brooms. You see it all on TV, different designs and stuff. We take that stuff off a piece of paper that's 8 by 10, and we have we're doing a 1/16 of an inch is 4 feet on this, and we're taking that from that to that, and then we used to brush them in all the time. Sometimes you use the brushes to brush it, or sometimes you paint it, but all those things, that all comes, I mean, it's great. I put the flag out after 9/11. I actually did the flag with the stars and everything, and that was mind-boggling. Even just trying to figure it all out, how to get, it was matched up and everything, and yeah, it's really neat to where the math comes into everything, and trying to fit everything in. So
Yeah, it's really amazing. I remember watching baseball in the early 70s. You didn't see that kind of artwork on the field very often, if at all. Now you
no,
see it all the time, and it looks
yeah,
perfect.
yeah. So that's all done. I mean, it's not like you have a big stencil you're putting out there. It's all done on a little piece
Yeah.
of paper with the ruler, and then you mark it all off, figure out how big you want to do it, and all that stuff. So there's a lot of math that goes into that kind of stuff too.
I want to show some slides of Barney in action at the ballpark at Angel Stadium. And I want to talk about what you're doing in each one of these. So this is a photo obviously from this year because you've got the mask for COVID-19. You're wearing the shorts. It's hot in Anaheim throughout much of the summer. What exactly are you doing here?
I believe that looks like it's in the bullpen. So I was actually fixing the bullpen mound at that time. So basically, yeah, like I tell a lot of people, you go like these sports turf classes, and I mean, yeah, I've got some time here, so I'll just talk about this too a little bit. But we went to that, you take turf grass management classes, and you do this, and you could learn that, or you could be a superintendent at a golf course. But everything to do with dirt is a whole different thing, and you can't learn that in a classroom. Nobody can teach you that. Nobody. That's a feel thing. So basically, what I'm doing there is I'm taking some mound clay and I'm putting it in a hole, and then I'm leveling it, and then I'm packing in it with the tamp, and then I'm coming back and putting the right amount of water on it, and then I'd go back and screen it, and then get it ready for the next day. The next day, I take the tarp off. It would have that water on top of it, so it's the right moisture. So when the cleats hit it, it would work fine, and then I'll just paint the rubber, and screen it one more time, and then paint the rubber, and it'd be ready to go. So I'm getting ready doing the bullpen there, but anything to do with dirt is a lot to do with moisture, compaction, and firmness. Like all that, like big league groundskeepers are all of them really. I mean, you could ask any one of them. They're saying my biggest concern, especially on game day, is the dirt. Infield dirt, and the pitcher's mound, because that's where the game is actually played, and that's the biggest part. So as a groundskeeper's world, we all worry about, we always figure out we have the right mixture for our mounds, or the right mixture for our infields, and we're having the right clay and the right silt and all that stuff together. And but that's the biggest thing that separates us from like an NFL groundskeeper, or like a Major League Soccer groundskeeper, or something like that, is because, or even a golf course it's kind of like a golf course superintendent's putting greens.
Yeah.
So I mean, our infield skin's kind of like that, and so of our mounds. So it's that's the most unique part of our business, is all of our groundskeepers.
Now you mentioned elm clay, if I'm correct.
Mound clay.
Mound clay. I'm sorry.
Mound clay. Yeah,
clay.
There's all sorts of different mound clays. Yeah. Okay. So there's all different sorts of mound clays.
What's the consistency of it? Does it have a certain amount of moisture already? What does it feel like?
So it's only put in spawn. Yeah, you want to get it. So ours would come in dry, and we'd roll it and screen it, and we get that. We use this is the one for the bullpen. So this is a different mound clay, one that I have. But it comes already in the bucket, and it already comes in the bucket. It already comes with the moisture in it. But that probably only has like 60, maybe 65% silt and clay in it. Whereas like our main mound, but that won't crack if we unroll those bullpens. That holds up for the bullpens, but it won't crack like on the mounds if you leave them over for a long time. But we use Pro's Choice mound clay for our game mounds. But it comes dry, so we take it on a roller, we roll it, we screen it all out on a real small sieve, like 1/4 inch, and then we have to we screen it. Then we wet it, and then we put it in buckets, and then we use it. And that probably has like 85% probably silt and clay. Clay, maybe 10% silt and the rest sand. So it's a lot more high clay content. And that's like our mound. It will never leave you never want to leave your mound uncovered, until game time. So like batting practice, all that stuff, we always have, because it's all about moisture. We got to keep that moisture in there. So before batting practice, and during batting practice and everything, we have the tarp on. After the game's over, we put the tarp on. Even if we have a day game, I get the mound ready before the day game. The sun's out, then I get it ready, and then I put the tarp back on until actually after the national anthem, and then I take it back off. So it's really important. Moisture is a big thing in the baseball groundskeeping world, I should say.
we always see from time to time certain pitchers, the way that they stride, they leave a big divot in the mound. Any particular Angels pitchers over the years that they left a real trench the way that they pitched,
Yeah.
and you had to really be on top of? Anybody that comes to
Yeah.
mind?
Yeah. Holy cow. Bartolo Colon would probably be the biggest one.
Yeah.
He's a big guy too, but he landed with it's all about about how you land. He landed with his heel and then just kind of kicked out. And a lot of big guys they'll land, but they'll land flat-footed. Other guys will land and they'll spin or whatever. So that's kind of the big thing. But yeah, he was a really good one. There's we've had some good ones. John Lackey left a big hole. There's been some good ones, but even on the road, different teams, even Kershaw, he gets into it pretty good. But it's just a matter of keeping that. I mean, you're never going to get the hole, so it's not going to be there. And it's just you're trying to get it to where it's not going to bother the pitcher, bother the other pitcher. And I remember I haven't been out there in a long time, but I mean, you'll see where things do break down, and it's not because it's a bad groundskeeper. It's just because it could be a day game, extra innings or whatever, and it's going to be so much that clay is going to dry out, and it's going to start chipping away every time they land. And you put two big guys out there, or you could have every guy landing in the same area, and eventually you're going to have a hole out there. And we're always in an area to where we have stuff ready, so we can always be out there. So in case something on an umpire would call us out, we'd be ready to go. So
let's say Bartolo Colon goes 9 innings. How many times do you have to go out there and fix the mound?
Oh, no, we won't have to go out. It's just a matter of, he'd be fine. When I went back out there after the game, that'd probably be the biggest hole that I would see, but not that we would have to actually go on the field. It's that it would be something that we would have to go out and direct, we don't have to dress it. I don't even know if I ever went out for him. I know I went out for John Lackey plenty of times. That was a long time ago, but I don't think I don't think we've been back out there since. But it's just a matter of how the pitchers want it and that kind of stuff too. So, but we have same thing there. You have grades. You got to go down an inch every foot after the first foot and a half, and so the 6.5 feet. You're 6. You're 6 feet. So you got to put we have like a little mound gauge on there, and so you put a mound gauge on there, and then you measure down every foot and a half. After the foot and a half, you measure down every foot, and you got to get the right slope. So. And then the platform on the backs, 18 on the sides, and then the 24 on the back, or 30 with the rubber on the back. So, it's like a platform, and that's got to be standard, So, there's a lot of stuff that goes into the pitcher's mound, but keeping your mound covered is one of the biggest keys, and not letting it dry out. So.
Here we have another shot. Looks like you hosing down the field pregame, and you've got an assistant holding that hose for you as well.
Yeah, it's Brett and I right there. So this could have been maybe during right before the players came back, or maybe before the spring training 2 or whatever they called it. So, so anyhow, like there again, it's just nail dragging that dirt every day, getting it wet at night. We just have these nail boards, and it's actually a nail board, and it's like 4 feet, maybe 4 feet wide and 3 feet long, 4 feet long, and 3 feet wide. And it's got nails like every inch or so. And the key is to get that before you leave the ballpark at night, is to get that moisture in there, and then in the morning take that nail drag over it, and then let it dry out. And then once it dries out, then come back and screen it with your screen, and then throw the water to it. So that's what I'll do in the morning. I'll come in, we'll nail drag it, and then we'll water it good at night, come in, nail drag it. And then if there's any areas that I always roll between like first and second, the running lane, around first too, where they're getting their jumps and their leads. I'll roll that every day. Then every now and then maybe every 5th day, I might roll the whole field. Then I got like a 1.5 ton roller that I roll it with, or a 2 ton. And then I might roll the shortstop area, whatever areas that field need it. And then after that, once it's green and it's rolled, then it's just pouring water to it. Obviously, the hotter it is, the first watering, I probably have water standing on, especially on a hot day, I'll have water standing on the infield dirt. And then after lunch, I'll water it again a little bit lighter, and then trying to keep that moisture. It's not about the moisture on top. You want that moisture all the way through that soil profile. So getting that water into that soil is the biggest thing. And there it is, moisture again, and so it's that's what we're doing there.
So we see one of your staff there. How many people on your grounds crew?
We have especially it doesn't rain so much in California, so we have a pretty light staff. On a game day, we'll have probably 9 people. This year was kind of a crazy year, obviously, because I usually have guys that come in at 7 o'clock in the morning and start picking up all the seeds and the gum, and we don't have that this year, but picking everything up and then getting everything cleaned up, getting the bullpens cleaned up, getting the bullpens uncovered, grooming them, and then I usually come in at about 9:30, and then the 7 o'clock game guys, the morning guys, they leave at 11:30. They'll come in and they'll get all the PP, and then I have just me and 3 other that are there till 2:30. And then at 2:30, I have 5 other guys that come in, 4 other guys that come in. So, but this year we ran 2 fields. We had you call it the B team or the second team, the AAA team or whatever you want to call it. They were in Long Beach, so we had to run that field too. So I don't have that many guys total. So we kind of did everything different to where everybody came in at the same time this year that was working in Anaheim. And everybody came in at the same time that was working in Long Beach. So we're kind of bouncing it around, and I didn't want to hire a bunch more guys. And then, then I didn't, hopefully next year we're back to normal again. And, I don't want to have, so we had the right amount of guys. It's just that for this year we were a little short.
Yeah.
So
typically you don't have maybe as large a crew as other teams simply because there's not as much rain.
Well, a lot of places they have a lot more guys because they're going to play pulling tarp all the time. So, and I don't know. I mean, we're but we just want, it's not that. Yeah, we have plenty, and some other people have more or whatever. It's just how you run it. So
yeah. Here's another shot. Here you're carrying a device that you were telling me about before we started the interview, and this you use to drag the infield. Tell us about this.
That's just a hand screen. So basically we use that for the base paths. We use that for the mound. We use that for the home plate. And then we also use it before the game. But first we use the big screen. You'll see if you guys ever see the 3-wheelers and you go to a ball game, you always see the cart running around with 3 wheels with a big screen on it. So we'll use that first. It really kind of helps get the divots for the cleats and all that stuff out better. And then after that, we'll come back with this. That just puts a nice little finish drag on it. And we screen it with that. And then before game time, we'll screen it with that. And then after that, I'll water behind that guy screening that. So, and then I'll water, as they're screening it. And then in the 3rd inning, in the 6th inning, when you do the 3rd inning, 6th inning drag, it's the same thing. We use the wood side down because that breaks up the clods, the chunks of the dirt better. And then we have actually 5 or 6. I think it's 5. 5 people go out there and screen it, and they're 6-foot screens. So they go there and back, and it covers the whole field. So.
And this screen that we see here is a mixture of wood and aluminum, correct?
Yeah, it's like a hard aluminum. It's not really metal because it bends, but yeah, it's aluminum and that. And so you put and I actually just buy the aluminum part, and then I nail it to the wood part. And you can go online, you can buy them already pre-made and from companies and all that stuff, and that have them. But it works great for a finished screen, like for the mound, before you getting down to the home plate and base paths and everything else.
For those who might just be tuning in, our guest is Barney Lopas, who is the head groundskeeper for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. He has been on the job now for 24 years, going back to 1996. I'm trying to make you slightly older than you actually are, Barney. Let's talk about some of the perils of being a groundskeeper. Is there one particular part of this job that is especially difficult? I'm sure you love your job overall, but is there one part of the job that you could do without?
Yeah, I mean, in today's world, there's there's a lot of things, and we haven't had a lot of concerts like a lot of other teams do. We play a lot of high school baseball. We have some crusades, but yeah, we've had concerts in the past, and it's not the groundskeeper's dream, as I should say, but it's definitely part of the job description, and it's one of those things where you just everybody works. The crew is ready for the challenge, and that's the thing that I don't like is that it never looks the way I want it to look, but it looks the best we can make it look, and so that would be probably the biggest challenging thing is when we have concerts and stuff like that, or big, a lot of events, but it's all it's all part of the territory, and we've been very fortunate lately that we haven't had a whole lot of them, but I know there's a lot of teams out there that have it a lot worse than I do, and better than me kind of thing. So, but yeah, it's all part of the deal. But yeah, there's certain things. There ain't too many things that I don't love about it, but that'd be one of them.
Our IT person, Tiny Singh, who used to work for you guys for many years,
Tiny,
told me that I had to ask you about the infamous U2 concert. What's that all about?
Oh, man. Yeah, that was welcome to my nightmare kind of thing. It was, man, I can't remember what year that was. I'm trying to put it on my mind as much best I can. So, yeah, but
this was
we had U2. It wasn't. They were going to a lot of different states, a lot of different stadiums, I should say, baseball stadiums. So all these people are calling me and they're like, "It's worse than whatever." But we actually stripped. It can be so bad. I mean, I think it's the biggest stage. I know a lot about this stuff, music, but I think it's the biggest stage like ever. And they actually use like the stuff that they put the stage on. It's like stuff you can make like an airplane runway out of. It's like the flooring, it's like, it's crazy. Yeah. So anyhow, so they're like, you're better off taking the grass out now because there's no way you're going to be able to save it at the end after the beating. So we did. We stripped the sod. I had my great crew and myself, and then like 4 or 5 other guys that were construction, and we took all the grass out after a 1 o'clock game. I think we had the grass out like at 4 or 5 in the morning. They were moving in at like 6. And there's a 2-show thing. The cool thing about this whole thing was once we got that out, and then they were there, and then our president, John Carpino, actually got me a suite on the first night. He's like, I'm not going to be one on the second night because you got to be working. But anyhow, it's funny. But so that was really cool. We got the whole crew in there, and we had a lot of fun watching U2. But then the second day show was over, and yeah, it's like a bomb went off, and we just regraded and started laying sod, and then the sod came from the desert, and it wasn't coming in. It wasn't holding together real well because of the transport. That it's probably 115 out there, and it getting transported here, and so it was something else. Yeah, but we got it together. I remember we played the Washington Nationals. I think it was the first time in our ballpark. Like after maybe 8 days after we laid the grass, and the dirt was packed so hard too, and I mean I didn't play the way it didn't look the way I wanted it to, and I didn't play the way I wanted it to, but we made it through it and got the team out of town, and the next time they came back, we were good again. So
you need at least a full week in order to get the field back in condition?
Well, this time we had to relay this, but you don't tear a sod out. I mean, this first time. This is the only show I think we've ever done, and I think anybody else has ever done, including their 29 teams, groundskeepers, that actually stripped the sod before they did it. I mean, sometimes you just strip an area like where center field, where the stage is, or you strip an area but this stage was so big, and the stuff they were having around in the sound system, that we just stripped everything. They recommended it, and so. But yeah, it was a clown show, and but we pulled it off and got it done, but most of the time, I mean, you can at least, even those areas, a lot of times you don't have to sod them where the stage was. You'll just paint them, try to make them, put some paint on them, and trying to cover up, put lipstick on a peg for a homestand until stuff gets better, and then you have to even resod it. But this was just it wasn't the greatest ordeal. But like I said, I know like Chicago, the Cubbies have a lot of them. I know there's a lot of people that have it a lot worse than I have it, and but it's all part of the job, and that's how we roll. So
I would think another potential problem is you've got a game, you're watching a game, and one of the Angels infielders gets treated to a very bad hop,
Oh,
charged with an error, or it's a hit. Either way, it's not good for the home team. Now, you might not have done anything wrong. It might have been something that happened during the game that you can't control. But
yeah.
how do you, as a groundskeeper, how do you react? Do you just slough it off, or do you really take it?
No, 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 no. I wear that like I wear it, and I wear it. I don't care if I haven't had a bad hop the whole year or what. I don't care because I'm only as good as my last ground ball, or I field is only as good as the last ground ball, I should say. And and to me, it doesn't just happen. You know, they said, you know what? If it's a spin, that's one thing, but if it's a bad hop, it's a bad hop, and you could ask my whole crew how I wear it. You can ask my wife. You can ask my kids. You could ask, and I'm sure the other groundskeepers, most of them take it as hard as I do or take it as hard as I do, but it hurts, man. I mean, I don't want to see, that guy. And, that's the thing I was talking to you, I said, that's like the putting green, that's the thing. And you want it to be consistent, even like during batting practice. Like if Simba's going in the hole, Andrew Simmons, say he's going in the hole, he's going to know. I want those guys to feel. They're going to know what that ball is going to do. Every time they see that one bounce, they're going to see the next bounce. The consistency they're going to have on that field, I want them to feel 100% consistent. Now, if we have a day game and it's a $110, it's 110 out or something, I mean, you're not going to keep that consistency because it's going to dry up after. I call it the no slide rule after 7, but because it's going to get hard out there. But as far as that, I mean, you always want it to be consistent and keep that moisture in there. That's what I was talking about the water, and I want all the players to feel that way. And if there's a bad hop, I mean, it just feels like, man, that shouldn't have happened. And, getting a new player like we got Rendon this year, and he's a great guy, and he was awesome. And I didn't get to meet him very often because of, the whole thing going on and their distancing and not being around the players as much and that kind of stuff. But when I did talk to him, he said everything is playing really good. But I try to leave those guys alone, let them play on the field for a while, to get a new guy like that, and then just say, hey, is there anything I can do different, like after the 3rd day or 4th day taking ground balls? If anything, is it okay? And just let me know if you need anything. And that's the other thing too. I mean, as long as they know you're working, trying to do everything for them, that's what I'm there for. I'm there for those guys. So, every player, like people say, oh, that player's just complaining. I don't believe in any of that. I 100% don't believe in that. They won't be complaining if there wasn't something that they wanted different. And it's our job to make it, my crew and myself, to make it the way they want it. And that's why we're there. So if it's, no matter what it is, we need to address that and get it right. And then make it the way they want it. And then the next day ask them, hey, is it better? Is it, there's going to become times when it's going to be tough, because you got, even like batter's box, you got guys wearing cleats and you got guys wearing spikes, and the difference between the metal ones and the rubber ones. And you're not going to get the same footing you're going to get with a plastic one of yours, and a cleat one. And so yeah, but you just try to compromise and make it good for both sides and get everybody happy. And so there's some challenges, but like I said, players are always, especially if they know how much I care. They know how much my crew cares. Our manager knows. All of the managers we've had knows how much my crew cares. I got a great crew, and we'll do anything for those guys. And so it's but nobody needs a bad hop. I wish it on nobody. So even a college field, if I see one, or this, because I know how those people take it, I know how I take it. So anyhow.
This wasn't a complaint from a player, but I was reading that when Albert Pujols signed with the Angels, he made kind of a special request of you. Tell us about that.
Oh, yeah. So he just wanted his first base area to be rounded, because before I had, like, my base paths are pretty small, like 4 feet, and I have really small areas like in front of first base, the cutouts around first base and third base and second base. There's a lot more grass, and he just wanted more dirt. So he wanted dirt to where, it was easy to do. I didn't know, but I just cut the grass out. We just put it in because the monster truck and motocross just got done. And that's when they told me they were in spring training. And we just cut it out and put dirt in it. But he always wants that ball from third base. Say the third baseman's throwing one, or the shortstop's in the hole, and the ball's going to be coming that way. He wants that ball to be hit the dirt instead of the grass. He wanted to hit a lip. So he'd rather have more dirt in that area, which makes sense. So it doesn't hit that lip. So if he's got to pick a play, pick a ball, he knows he's going to hit the dirt first instead of the lip of the grass and the dirt. So, and it's I'll tell you something else. It's what a pleasure. I mean, I just have him around and get to know him personally and talk with him all the time. And just, he always comes up and says hi to the guys. He says hi to me. What amazing just to see 600 home runs and all the home runs and all the records he's breaking, and I think he's 6th on the list or 5th on the list now. Yeah. So anyhow, the doubles and then to find out what the person's like and find out what his kids is like, and I mean he's such a great guy, and that's another really neat thing. I'm not a guy that gets stage fright, but I just love a way, I'm not a guy that's, this is, I just love the way he carries himself and the way he's, how he does everything every day and the way he handles himself. But I see him work. I see him down in the cages all the time. I see him, how hard he works at his art and at the game. So it's pretty neat to see him around. That's pretty cool.
Just passed Willie Mays on the all-time home run
list.
There
you go.
Mays had been, of course, at 660.
660, yep.
Yeah, Pujols just matched that and then exceeded that before the end of the regular season. Let's talk a little bit about some of the challenges that are presented by the weather in Anaheim. And here in Cooperstown, we're jealous because we think of Southern California weather as idyllic. Sunny days, warm, relatively little rain, but I guess this poses challenges for a groundskeeper, does it not?
Well, yeah, we don't get the rain, so we don't get as much rain. But right now we got the fires and the heat and everything else. So we have a transition area that we hit. Transition period. When we're going from cool season to our Bermuda grass from our ryegrass, the warm season, cool season to warm season, and it's been a lot hotter there, in the winters than in the summer times, and now the winter too. I think it's 100 there tonight. It was 100 there the other day, and I think it's like 96. So the weather is definitely obviously that's where everybody lives there, but it also is changing. It's getting a lot warmer, and couldn't be happier to live in there, but. We just don't get the rain like all these other places get, which is good.
Did the fires come relatively close to your area?
No, they didn't. No, they were. I mean, as a crow flies, I don't know. They're same, maybe like 30 miles or something, but
okay.
That was the closest one probably. And it's, I feel so bad, but yeah, we have ashes in our backyard or whatever, and we have ashes on our truck, and ashes, I'm like, well, big deal. I mean, these poor people are going through havoc, and I feel so bad for and they're still going, and they're still going crazy, and it's just hopefully we do get some rain over there and get some cooler temperatures, and we can try to get these things under control because it's just devastating the state. So I'm hoping and praying for all those people.
Yeah. As we continue our conversation with Barney Lopas of the Anaheim Angels, Los Angeles Angels, I should say, we want to take your questions as well. We have a couple of questions that have come in already. I think you might know this first guy because he claims he's from Appleton, Wisconsin. Robert Cole, is that the name?
Oh, Bob Coley?
Coley, Robert Coley.
Yeah.
So here's his question for you. What do players say from both the Angels and visiting teams? What do they say to you about your field prep that makes you feel good about the work you're doing?
Oh, Bob. You know what? You just get a lot of players that they come up to you, like before the game, or like especially a lot of visiting people do, and they just love the playing surface and they love the field. So I mean, it's just a good feeling when people says, somebody comes on and they say, hey, one of the best fields in baseball, or I love this surface. We love this playing here. The whole team loves playing here, whatever. So it's just good. And like I said, I don't ever take that, because like I said, I'm as good as the last ground ball. And trust me, 29 other groundskeepers are as good as, we're all good at what we're doing. We wouldn't be where we're at if we weren't, but it is nice to hear people say, hey, they like the field and this and that. So yeah, it's awesome.
So a few players do make the point of saying good things.
Oh, I hear it. Yeah, we hear it quite often. And then, so it's good. That's a good thing. Yeah. So.
Yeah. You've been with the Angels now since 1996. Any favorite player or players, guy, that you really enjoyed talking to, that made an effort to reach out to you? Tell us about some favorite Angels that you've had.
All of them. I mean, it's like I said, it's small. It's crazy because you're around these guys for a long time. I mean, Troy Percival. I mean, we're friends. We don't even look at them as Garrett Anderson, Tim Salmon, AK. Admiral Kennedy, I mean, all these guys, Troy Gloss, I mean, all these guys that were there, I mean, because you guys were there for a long period, even, now Albert Pujols, Mike Trout, I mean, great people, and then you got guys from different teams too they've been around forever, and I've been around for a long time, and you get these guys that come back. I mean, Mark Langston, I mean, now he's announcing, so I mean, it's just, you see them every day, and you just really know Chuck Finley. He played for us maybe 1 year. I mean, for me when I was there, and I only think he only played maybe for 2 years. I think he went to Cleveland, but I love Chuck. I mean, he's awesome. All these guys that were there and that been there. Sean Fagans, he was there for a long time. The Molina brothers, So people are, you see guys that get there. Guys that get there like their first couple, their first couple years, they first when they come in, whatever, I mean, it takes, I don't ever try to push it, it just happens, all of a sudden you're around somebody, you see somebody on her time, they start talking, next thing you know, they come out. Tommy LaStella is kind of funny because I really didn't get to know him that well, because then he got hurt last year. And then this year he came out, during, when all the stuff they had, the first spring training was dead, and then he'd come out and take ground balls and all that stuff. And me and him are putting the turf saver on together. We're getting stuff ready for ground balls together. And then when he went to Oakland, but I got to know him really well, but I never knew him before, prior to that. So if somebody's around long enough, it's a small family. I mean, baseball's a small family. I got, every time any team comes around, I know somebody, whether it's from way back when or if it's from a player that played for us got traded, or it's, somebody, some way, one way or the other. And it's I've been fortunate to get to know these guys and their kids. A lot of them get to know their kids and all that stuff too. And it's pretty neat, but it's hard to pick one. It's hard to pick two. I'm just saying I feel bad for these guys, they get tugged at so many ways in so many directions. And so if they seen somebody, and they say, man, I saw him and he didn't give me an autograph, Well, it's not because, I see him, it's not because he's a bad guy. It's not because, it's because he's got a zillion people giving him an autograph. And he does a lot of things to a lot of people. But you hate to be, you can't sign everybody's autograph, And so I kind of feel bad for players like that when I hear something bad, but I'm really good people. And I know that they would sign it if they could have signed it. So anyhow.
Yeah, I think the only player who's been able to sign every autograph request he's ever gotten is Cal Ripken Jr.
Oh, this is a great, This is a great story. And he couldn't sign them all, but I'll tell you the reason why he couldn't. So I've never seen this before in my life, and I don't know when was his last year. Well, I don't know what his last year he played.
Well, let's see. You went to the Hall of Fame in 2007, so it would have been 2001.
Okay, I'm bad at years, but this is a true story. So he would sign for during batting practice at our ballpark I can ask Tim this too, because he said he'd sit there and sign for an hour and 15 minutes each game. And during their batting practice, he would get his stuff in, but there would be a line forever, and he would just sit there and sign and sign and sign. And what a great, because he's getting ready, but he did that to every ballpark, and that to me that's just tells you who Cal Ripken Jr. is. And he signed a lot of autographs, and I actually fortunate to have one. So
nice.
You
cool. Referred to Tim, for those not aware, that's Tim Mead, now the president of the Hall of Fame, longtime executive with the Angels franchise, and just joined our staff about a year and a half ago. He actually came in earlier to watch some of the program. Didn't say anything to me because he knew my microphone was live, but he's checking in on you. So he's definitely there. I'm curious about managers. Any particular manager that really communicated with you a lot, made a point, maybe before each series, each new homestand, of coming in, talking to you about the field? Any of those managers? There have been a number of them over the years with the Angels, but was there one guy who really tried to make that connection with you?
Yeah, I mean, Mike and Joe, I've known Joe prior to him being here, and Mike was awesome to me. He was great to my kids. He was great. I mean, he was a great communicator with me. Listen, he'd be the first guy, if a ball hit home plate, and and when the visiting team got on base, because the ball jumped up in the air, he'd be like, "Man, it's too hard in front of home plate." And he knew the ball hit home plate, I mean, but so we did things. We always make in front of home plate softer. We do different things. Grass, he wanted different things with the grass, how short, how high, base paths, all that kind of stuff. But he was part. He's same thing. I mean, he was there for 20 years or whatever.
Yeah.
So he was there for pretty much my whole time I was there. Brad was a really nice guy. I didn't get to know Brad real well because it's been a year, whatever. And then this year, I got communicated well with Brad, but I didn't get to know him real well. And then this year, everybody knows who Joe Madden is. So that's Joe's awesome. So I mean, he comes in and he communicates really well. And I see him now. He's like, anything you need. I'm like, I don't need anything. But he's just he's a great communicator, and he's really good. And he's been good with, he's kind of like, Barney, everything's good. Everything's playing well. Because I'd ask him, hey, if you need anything softer in home plate or, whatever, let's do it. Let's get it done or whatever. But he, seems to like the way it plays. And he's great with my crew too. And Mike was great with my crew. And so I've been, the crazy thing was Marcel, when he brought me over here, and then he ended up stepping down in '96. And then we had Terry Collins. And then, and me and Terry got along well too. And he was there for a few years. And then, but then Marcel came back as a pitching guy. So Marcel did, and so that was great. But yeah, I've had a lot. It's funny too because like Freddie Gonzalez, he coached the Braves and all that stuff. But he was my manager in Florida for the Florida Marlins, our single A team. And Freddie could sit on this air right now and tell you a lot of stories about me and him. But we had a lot of fun. He'd bring me breakfast on Sundays, and we played golf together all the time. And now he's coaching with the Florida Marlins, but he was in Atlanta, and then I know quite a few of them along the way, and been fortunate. Ron Reinecke's another great guy, another great manager, an easy guy to communicate with, and he just got let go. But you meet a lot of great people, and a lot of great managers, and then there I was going to mention somebody, Gary Hughes. He just passed, and for you guys who don't know Gary, he was a lifetime scout in this game and director of scouting. But you see, like to meet all those people and say that, like, man, that guy's my friend, and but Gary, that's tough. That's what a great guy and what great memories I had of him. And so, a lot of good managers, a lot of good scouts, a lot of players. I mean, it's been a great run. Not only that, I still talk to people. The minor leagues, all those great friendships I had with them, and all the great friendships I have with my crew and the guys that left my crew, and so it's been a good journey for me. And now with we got, and then don't forget about Artie too, because he came here. It was Disney, and he came here, and I'm so blessed to have him for an owner, and to have him as my owner, and to make a friendship with him, and his family and his wife, and I had to know his kids, and friends with his brothers, and but it's family, and it's awesome. That's that's what basically, we all work hard and we all have big dreams and we all do this, but it's just it's a small game, and it's everybody could tell you that in baseball it's a small group. So
Barney, referring to the owner of the Angels, Arte Moreno, former managers Mike Scioscia, Joe Madden, of course, currently the manager, but he'd been a coach a number of years ago, was on Scioscia's staff. And then glad you mentioned Gary Hughes, a scout who was called by Bob Nightingale of USA Today the Babe Ruth of baseball scouts. Recently passed away after a relatively brief bout with cancer, but was just a tremendously knowledgeable and very cordial guy who was always willing to share his thoughts on the game. We have just a couple of minutes left. Want to have some more questions I want to work in. One of them is a really good one from Reg Jones. Reg wants to know, how much do you slope the first or third base line to keep a bunt fair or to make sure that it rolls foul? Do you pack the area in front of home plate to make it hard so as to enable a Baltimore chop, or do you keep it softer? What's your approach there?
Well, thanks, Rex. Like I said, in front of home plate, pretty much everybody wants home plate to be soft. And Marcel Lashman said it best. If a guy hits a ball there, he doesn't deserve a hit anyhow. So you don't want a ball to hit there and bounce over the third baseman's head. Unless your team, obviously, if your team's built for it, say a fast team would be a great idea, but your pitchers are going to hate you. So you want it to be to where it's going to hit and not just take off. Obviously it's not going to stick, but I mean you want it to be soft enough. And what I do is I just take a steel rake and I get it wet, and then I take that steel rake and I turn that area over. And I just get to it to where I can go down like an inch or so, or maybe an inch and a half. And then when that ball hits that thing, it's like I said, it's going to get it to where it's not going to be so hard. So yeah, I've never had to make it firmer. Nobody's ever asked for it firmer. I know if you would make it firmer, I know the pitching staff would not like you. They'd be all over you probably. But the manager's always been around, always wanted it that way too. But it totally makes sense. Like if you had like Ichiro or somebody like that, and you had like a quick team, or say back in the day with the Cardinals, or fast teams now, or even with Kansas City a few years ago when they won, that was a pretty fast team. It's not a bad idea because you can get a lot more hits out of that. And with balls, choppers.
Do you slope the foul line?
I'm not sure. I think ours are like pretty straight all the time, but no. Okay. No, they're you figure like I don't call it like a 0.5% slope. If you put a 0.5% slope fair or 0.5% slope foul, you'll get the roll that you want.
Really?
So, and it's not, so that's a little bit, but if you're talking about 6 feet, that's only an inch or so, so it's not that much, a half an inch or whatever, but yeah. The ball will roll that way.
This brings to mind a story. Early 80s, Maury Wills was the manager of the Seattle Mariners. He actually instructed the groundskeeper to change the size of the batter's box. I think he made it bigger for some reason, and the groundskeeper apparently went along, even though this was clearly against the rules. Could you imagine having a request like that?
Yeah, it's crazy, but yeah, I wasn't okay. I've had requests to where if I can move it back like an inch or two, but not make it bigger, just move it back or move it. But you know what? By the time the game even starts, umpires see that batter's box every single day. Yeah. And they know, you wouldn't think an inch is a lot or 2 inches is a lot. Umpires see that batter's box every single day, and they know if it's right on or if it's not right on. So you're better off leaving it right on, because otherwise you're going to be going out there during the game and changing it. So
they're going to know. I think Billy Martin pointed it out to the umpires back in '81, and they quickly pounced on it. I think Maury Wills was ejected from the game, and shortly thereafter let go. Final question. We have just a couple of minutes, Barney. Final question from Tom Roback. He wants to know, how much work is there to be done during a typical off season?
Well, see, we've been pretty fortunate in the past because we always have monster trucks. So what we'd do in the off season, we'd play some high school football games and we'd do that kind of stuff. But then come January 1st, we'd cover it all up. And then with dirt, and then we'd resod it. This year, as we speak, I just talked to my assistant, Julio, on the phone like an hour before I did this, and we were just talking. It's so we're going to treat it kind of like we'll treat it like we regular, like the team's out of town. So we'll still aerate. He just got done aerating a couple days ago, and when I get back, we'll start top dressing it with sand. We still use the same fertilizer and fungicide program that we've used during the season and the off season, and so yeah, it won't be as difficult because we won't have all the dirt stuff to worry about, and we will still keep it edged. We'll edge it once a week, so it doesn't take us a whole lot of time to do it when we do it. But as far as the grasses and the maintenance of it goes, we'll do that all the way up until the team comes back, and make sure we'll do things to make sure, windstorms and stuff, we don't get lips, where the wind is blowing and it's blowing the fields. We have to keep an eye more on the weather and that kind of stuff. And then get it ready for opening day again. So
our guest has been Barney Lopas, Field and Ground Maintenance Manager, also known as the Head Groundskeeper for the Los Angeles Angels. Barney, we really appreciate your time and your insights. I've learned a lot about a subject I really know little about going in. It's been very insightful. We really appreciate your time.
Well, Bruce, thanks for having me.
Again, our guest, Barney Lopas, joining us for Virtual Voices of the Game. We thank all of our listeners and viewers for being with us as well as we continue these programs into the playoff season, into the World Series season, and even into the off season as well. Thanks for being with us today. Have a great day, everybody.